Ah yes, Halloween, All Hallows Eve, Samhain as the Druids would have called it, or the nightmare before Christmas. Children gather outside to collect trinkets of goodwill from willing neighbors, and some trickery and mayhem is certain to occur wherever teenagers and college students are as well. However, as the capitalistic claws of consumption overwhelm this once innocent holiday, is that Christmas candy? It's October 5th for Christmas sake, come on!
He's heating up!
Get out! Well, howdy everybody, it's that time of year where we get a little spooky on the channel from a cultural, business, and strategy point of view. So let's get it started. Perspective Reports. Happy Halloween.
He's heating
You all
up!
know what a tier list is, right? We just rank things from an S tier all the way to a bottom tier, and we're gonna have fun doing that. Talk about how these candy brands became the juggernauts that they are today. And yeah, happy Halloween.
He's heating
Let's
up!
go. So let's start with the billion-dollar candy brands, and we're talking about our S tier here. We're gonna start with the one, the only M&M's. That's right, and M&M stands for Mars and Murray. I had to just Google that. But they are a classic created in 1941 by Forrest Mars Sr. The idea was actually inspired by the British Smartie. He saw soldiers eating during the Spanish Civil War. The hard candy outer shell prevented the chocolate from melting inside, making them an ideal ration. And actually, fun fact, in Canada, what we know as M&M's in the United States is actually called Smarties. So, fun fact as well, M&M's were the first candy to travel to space, chosen by the astronauts of the first space shuttle mission back in 1981, and they're just a global titan of the candy industry. According to snackandbakery.com's State of the Candy Business, in 2023, they made $1.16 billion. That's a crazy amount of money. Mars Snacking Division, which M&M's is part of, actually made $18 billion in 2022. So we're talking about a candy brand that is just up there with the greats. Also, recent years, I think back in 2022, 2023, for the Super Bowl ad where people were talking about the new Spokes candies. It was like a Maya Rudolph was going to replace them. Then they brought them back. Regardless, I've always been a green M&M person and a red M&M, but I used to really love blue M&Ms. But I really love peanut butter M&Ms, actually, and peanut M&Ms as well. So let's keep it going. M&Ms are S tier first entrant. Let's go.
He's heating
and
up!
Our second S tier billion-dollar candy brand is Reese's Cups, and it had to be them. We'll put them right up there next to M&M's, though they probably should be ahead of M&M's because they made $3.1 billion for the Hershey's Company in 2023, according to a 2024 earnings statement. Their background is crazy. They were invented by Harry Burnett Reese, a former dairy farmer and Hershey's employee who started making candies in his basement in 1928 to support his family. Harry, come up for dinner. You need to take a break. I'm busy. Can't you see I'm working? Yes, I finally did it. The greatest invention of all time. Respect to you, Harry. Thank you for making probably one of the greatest candy inventions of all time and doing it in your basement, man. That's tough. Before they were called Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, however, they were sold as penny cups due to their low price during the Great Depression, which is funny. They were called penny cups then, but now they're a billion-dollar brand. So, hey, crazy world. And they continue to innovate. They have like Reese's Cup peanut butter chips and pretzels, potato chips. They have so many sweet and salty combinations. They also have a peanut butter and jelly version you can get on Hershey's.com, so check that out. Also, a funny fact, they were sued in 2023 for selling their Halloween peanut butter cup editions, which come in like little pumpkin forms. On the packaging, it has an actual carved, pumpkin jack-o'-lantern face on the packaging, but when you open up the individual candy, some people didn't have a pumpkin face on their candies, and someone sued them with a class action lawsuit, the Hershey's Company. So I don't know what the outcome of that is. That was a year ago. I've seen the last update. I just thought that was fun to put in there. Yeah, but what else is there to say? Reese's Cups is probably one of my favorite brands of all time, easily probably my favorite candy of all time to me. And everybody was trading for it as a kid, so shout out to Reese's Cups. Let's keep it going.
Reese's. What's that tail that pecks that punch? The unique S-E-S. It's the perfect combination of peanut butter and chocolatey flavor. Reese's Puff Cereal, part of a complete breakfast. P to the U double Reese's.
Well, now that we talked about Reese's Cups and M&Ms, I don't think the rest even matter. I think we're done here. Am I right? Oh, I'm just joking, but you know, we're just not going to spend as much time talking about the others as we did these first two because it was just setting up the premise. So thank you for watching. And our third entrant into the S tier category, put up those threes. It's for Snickers. Let's go. Snickers, come on down.
Playing like Betty White out there.
That's not what your girlfriend said.
Baby. Eat a Snickers. Better?
That hurt.
You're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfies.
Snickers is our third S-tier billion-dollar candy brand. They are owned by Mars Inc. Not a surprise considering Mars is the largest candy producer right there next to Nestle. They were introduced in 1930. It was one of the first candy bars to combine multiple popular ingredients: nougat, which is a whipped cream until it's crunchy or creamy, caramel, peanuts, and milk chocolate.
Good afternoon, sir. Could we interest you in some chocolate?
Chocolate? Did you say chocolate?
So how did Snickers get their name? Well, Ethel and Fred Mars being the founder of Mars Inc., and Ethel Mars, his wife, they owned a farm in Tennessee called the Milky Way Farm. If that sounds familiar, it's because the candy bar Milky Way is named after their farm in Tennessee. Well, their horse on that farm was named Snickers. So Snickers being their favorite horse, that's where the candy bar got the name from. But Snickers is iconic. It's a top-selling candy bar globally with billions in annual sales, thanks in large part to its iconic and long-running "You're Not You When You're Hungry" ad campaign that we played in the beginning. And that all only started in 2010, and since then has gone on to haunt every single senior and junior high school as the most overused corny joke. However, the brand maintains its market dominance through consistent marketing and occasional product variations like an almond or brownie-filled Snickers bar, ice creams, and even protein cookies, especially in Europe. In 2013, the Snickers bar achieved $1 billion in annual sales in the US alone. Huge achievement. And for Halloween, Snickers has their little fun-sized candy bars, but they do it with the glow-in-the-dark wrappers. Who remembers those? That was always a good third place candy to trade for after Reese's or Kit Kat. So yeah, that's Snickers. And also, fun fact, in the UK and Ireland and the British Isles, the Snickers bar was originally known as the Marathon Bar until it was officially renamed to Snickers to match the rest of the world in 1990. So there's like a Mars bar, a Snickers bar, Milky Way, and Three Musketeers. They're all basically the same different type of bar. Well, yeah, that's Snickers. Let's keep it going. And the last candy in our S tier is from the Hershey's Company, Kit Kat. Come on down, let's go. What an award ceremony. Everybody clap. We're going to switch up the format here for a second, and I asked the AI to tell me a few different crazy stories that are true based on like news reports about Kit Kat, and this is what it came up with. So let's talk about it. The number one, the UK lawsuit over the shape. So apparently there was a decade-long legal war. Nestle spent millions fighting in the UK and EU courts to trademark the four-finger rectangular shape of the Kit Kat bar. I guess the shape of the bar really mattered. So the rival intervention, Cadbury contested the claim, arguing the shape was too common in the confectionery market to warrant a proprietary protection. So in the final ruling, courts ultimately rejected Nestle's trademark attempts. So it was a ruling that consumers rely on, and the name and the logo, right? You know, people want something they recognize, not just the geometry shape to identify as a Kit Kat. So basically the public domain's interest, or the public's interest, to keep as is versus allowing you to trademark something different, which is crazy. Or at least the identity of that type of shape of chocolate anyway. So then, you know, other people can sell their version, some local small market, I guess, version, or Trader Joe's version of Kit Kats, if that exists. I don't know. Crazy story number two, the $2 million break-off Kit Kat. In 2017, a Canadian man received a Kit Kat bar that was a solid chocolate with no wafer, and it launched a class action lawsuit for negligence. So apparently, the man argued that the missing wafer violated the fundamental structure and texture that defines what the Kit Kat experience is. So I don't know what that means, which is, it just sounds like crazy talk to me that you care enough that, you know, about that, I guess. Jumping into number 3, the world's most bizarre flavors. We're jumping to Japan. We're staying international, baby. We got to get out of the USA for a second. The Flavor Laboratory, due to the phrase Kito Katsu, you will surely win, which is Japanese for you will surely win, Kitu Katsu. Japan releases hundreds of hyper-local and seasonal flavors, turning the candy into a collector's item. The culinary madness. The Japanese market has seen flavors ranging from the humorous to the truly bizarre, including wasabi, soy sauce, baked potatoes, and sake. Sake flavored Hershey's. What? Sake flavored? I can't believe I'm reading that. And our 4th craziest story takes us to Kansas State in Manhattan, Kansas, USA, where a college student, Hunter Jobbins, a freshman, this is back in 2016 by the way, had Kit Kat stolen from his cup holder. Someone apparently left him a note saying, "Saw a Kit Kat in your cup holder. I love Kit Kats, so I checked your door. It was unlocked. Did not take anything other than the Kit Kat. I am sorry and hungry." End quote. So if you are in a position where you're down bad enough to steal Kit Kats from somebody's car, children's candy from someone's car, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and say maybe there's some changes. Anyway, Hershey's, the company who makes Kit Kats in the USA, a lot of people don't know this, Hershey's makes the Kit Kats in the USA, Nestle makes Kit Kats everywhere else in the world. Hershey sent him 6,500 Kit Kat bars, individually wrapped candies. That's a lot of Kit Kats. That's like years. Anyway, so don't steal candy from people unless you want free candy from Hershey's company for a viral moment. But that's our crazy story number 4. Let's keep it going. So let's do a quick lightning round, wrapping up the business and financial information for Kit Kat. After all, it's a billion-dollar candy brand. Let's talk about how and why. They are owned globally by Nestle, but in the USA, they are trademarked by the Hershey's company that we spoke to before. And it was originally launched in London, England in 1935 as Roundtree's Chocolate Crisp. So it wasn't named Kit Kat until 1937, 2 years later, but we can thank London and Roundtree's for making M&Ms and Kit Kats. Thank you. And with the success of Japan's 300 plus different flavors of Kit Kats, the USA is starting to put in more permanent new flavors like mint dark chocolate and birthday cake. You may have seen it. In 2023, Kit Kat made over $715 million in sales in the USA alone. And if we imagine with the rest of Nestle's global brand, it's probably into the multi-billions. So that's Kit Kat. Thanks so much for watching. Let's keep it going. Hey, what up, fam? We just finished our S tier billion-dollar tier, so let's move on down to the A tier, and it's Skittles, our first A tier market mover. Let's put her there. Skittles. A classic. Who doesn't love Skittles? They are owned by Mars Inc., and they were actually first created in Great Britain. That's right, the UK in 1974. The chewy fruit-flavored candies were not introduced to the North American market until 1979. A lot of people don't know that. Less than 50 years we've had Skittles in the North American market until 2029 comes along. For a period, though, the green Skittle was lime-flavored. After a fan vote in 2013, it was permanently changed to green apple, so justice for lime. And it did come a famously controversial move that was reversed in 2021 when they brought the lime flavor back. The undisputed leader in the US non-chocolate candy market with annual sales of hundreds of millions of dollars, Skittles is pretty much bar none. I don't think there's anybody who sells more than them that's non-chocolate, and that's such a key distinction. We think about all the gummies, the worms, all this and that, but Skittles really stands alone when it comes to the non-chocolate market. And in 2020, the brand removed the gelatin from its formula, making the standard US version of Skittles finally vegan. I didn't know gelatin was an animal byproduct until recently, but yeah, apparently so. So that's Skittles. Let's move on to our next A tier, and it's Twix. That's right, Twix, come on down. Twix is also owned by Mars Inc. No surprise there. Their background, they are also a British invention. That's right, a UK invasion.
It's about time they gave left and right Twix their own packs. They got about as much in common as you a mortician and me an undertaker.
Or you a janitor and me a custodian.
Or you a ghost and me a spirit.
New left and right Twix packs. It's time to decide.
They were made in the United Kingdom in 1967 and later were introduced in the US the same year as Skittles in 1979. So again, Twix, less than 50 years in the US market. A lot of people don't realize that. So pretty crazy. Obviously, we know Twix combines a cookie base, caramel, and chocolate together, but their most famous left Twix versus right Twix marketing campaign. Also, just another fun fact, Twix, apparently the name is a portmanteau, which is when you smash two words together, of twin sticks. So Twix, twin sticks, that makes sense to me. Anyway, back to the left Twix versus right Twix marketing campaign. It is up there with You're Not You and You're Hungry, with being such a recognizable top tier marketing campaign, and has been running for over a decade at this point, and it feels like a lot longer. Same with the Snickers commercial, only started in 2010. I do believe the left Twix versus right Twix only came about that same time period. So anyway, the brand maintains its popularity by doing different variations like salted caramel and cookie cream flavors. That's Twix, one of my favorite candies, and definitely an A tier. Our next A tier entry, we have Hershey's Bar, the classic, the one, the only Hershey's. Come on down. I mean, we all know the Hershey's chocolate bar. It is like the definition of a chocolate bar of candy for any child who's probably been born after the year 1900. It's just such a textbook looking thing. And it was introduced in 1900. It was the first mass produced chocolate bar in America. Milton Hershey's innovation made chocolate once a luxury just for the rich, accessible to everybody. I mean, we all know the Hershey's chocolate bar. It is like the definition of a chocolate bar of candy for any child who's probably been born after the year 1900. It's just such a textbook looking thing. And Hershey, Pennsylvania, we all know Hershey, Pennsylvania, it's a destination to go see the factory, but it's also a fun little tourist spot. You can do a lot of different things there. Milton Hershey, the owner, founder of Hershey's, built that town, Hershey, Pennsylvania, for his employees, and it features street lights shaped like Hershey's Kisses. So go check that out for yourself. Anyway, known as the Great American Chocolate Bar, it's a cultural icon and has incredibly strong sales. I mean, it probably is, it's not probably, it is in the billion-dollar category. Hey, what's up? X from the future, and honestly, let's just put Hershey's candy bar up in the S tier category. It deserves to be there. It's the best-selling candy bar of all time, an icon of American candy and the world. So, let's go! So, anyway, Hershey's continues to adapt by releasing organic versions and plant-based bars with oat milk even to appeal to modern consumer tastes. So that's the Hershey's bar, a classic who's still rocking it to this day. And our next up in the A tier is Starburst. That's right. We got a Starburst. Who doesn't love a Starburst? We got a lot of non-chocolate candies coming through right now. So Starburst is also owned by Mars Inc., and it was invented again in the United Kingdom, in the UK, in Britain in 1960, and it was originally named Opal Fruits. What a weird name. It was introduced to the US in 1967, so a little bit longer than Skittles and Twix, but still more recent than people would realize. The original four flavors of Opal Fruits were strawberry, lemon, orange, and lime. When it came to the US, the lime was replaced with cherry. For some reason, the British think we have a problem with lime flavored things. I don't know why. But anyway, a dominant player in the fruit chew category, second only to Skittles with hundreds of millions of dollars in annual sales. The brand caused a stir in 2022, however, by announcing the discontinuation of its all pink packs. They were selling these all pink versions. I'm assuming maybe it was breast cancer, maybe it was something like that. But either way, they just stopped it altogether in 2022, which had been a fan favorite limited edition, and they have yet to bring it back. So sad face for everybody there. But let's keep it going. Next up in the last entry in our A tier is Sour Patch Kids. That's right, Sour Patch Kids. Stuff. Who doesn't love Sour Patch Kids? We'll put them right up there in the A tier. They're owned by Mondelez International. This is our first non-Mars, non-Hershey, non-Nestle candy to be on this list. And Mondelez International, they're the ones who make Oreos and stuff like that. They were created, Sour Patch Kids, in 1970 Canada. So Sour Patch Kids, a Canadian invention from the 1970s. They were originally shaped like aliens and called Marsmen. That's funny. They were renamed in 1985 to capitalize on the immense popularity of the Cabbage Patch Kids dolls, which were massive in the 80s. If you know anything about the 80s culture, Cabbage Patch Kids, you couldn't escape from them. That and the Pet Rock. And fun fact, the brand's famous first, they're sour, then they're sweet. We all know that marketing campaign, which again speaks to how much candies really do get in our brains with those earworm marketing slogans. And it perfectly captures the eating experience of the tart citric acid coating dissolving to reveal that sweet gummy underneath, which we all love. So sour, sweet, gone. Has become a financial powerhouse with a huge following. Brand has expanded into other products, including frozen treats like ice cream and popsicles, leveraging its popular flavor profile. And that's it for our A tier. Let's keep it going.
First they're sour, then they're sweet. Sour Patch Kids. Sour, sweet, gone.
B tier, B tier. Let's start our B tier. Start off with Butterfinger and Crunch, ranking these candy bars by business impact. And Butterfinger and Crunch are all-time classics. Who doesn't know them? The fun fact about Butterfinger is that they are famously part of the Simpsons lore and history because there was massive marketing tie-ins with Butterfinger as we put them up there in the B tier. And also another fun fact, both Crunch and Butterfinger were both owned by Nestle, and then they were sold to Ferrero in 2018. Butterfinger was actually invented in 1923, while Crunch was launched in 1938. And for decades, both of them were iconic brands, again under Nestle. And again, speaking to the Simpsons history with Butterfinger, the Simpsons had a long-standing famous partnership with Butterfinger that began with commercials in 1988, featuring Bart Simpson's iconic "Nobody Better Lay a Finger on My Butterfinger" line. This collaboration expanded to include product promotions like on-wrapper contests, a popular 1993 campaign where fans tried to identify a thief from a lineup using alibis on wrappers. The partnership continued with many commercials and product tie-ins until 2001. Going to their popularity and sales, both are classic candy bars with loyal fan bases and consistent multi-million-dollar sales. The biggest news for them, however, was in 2018 when both Butterfinger and Crunch were sold to Ferrero. The very same people who made Nutella ended up being the ones who now own Butterfinger and Crunch. And a lot of people actually got mad because there was controversy in 2019 when Ferrero changed the Butterfinger recipe. Do you believe that? They changed the Butterfinger recipe. Of course, people are going to be pretty pissed. Finger and Crunch first up in our B tier. So we're going to keep it going down. Milky Way and Three Musketeers. Let's put on the list. Come on down. Milky Way right here. We're going to put Three Musketeers right there. Fun fact with Milky Way and Three Musketeers, and we mentioned this earlier in the video, Snickers, Milky Way, Three Musketeers are essentially all the same candy bar. They all just have different things within them. Milky Way is just caramel, nougat, and chocolate, and Three Musketeers is just nougat and chocolate. So both Milky Way and Three Musketeers, just like Snickers, are owned by Mars Inc., and Mars Inc. owns M&M's and a bunch of big brands. Milky Way was created in 1923 and was one of the first filled candy bars designed to taste like a malted milkshake. Malt used to be a really big flavor back in the day. Three Musketeers, back in 1932, was also an early hit. Three Musketeers originally contained 3 small bars in one package: chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. And during World War II, for cost-saving measures, they eliminated the vanilla and strawberry, leaving only the popular nougat. These are the legacy brands for Mars that remain reliable sellers with high brand recognition and millions in annual sales. That's why they're in the B tier. They're not selling as much as maybe a Twix or a Skittles or a Snickers, but they're there. Everybody knows who they are and they matter. All right, let's move on down to Twizzlers. We're going to Twizzlers next up. Twizzlers, happy Halloween, everybody who's joining us on the live stream. Thank you so much for watching all this for a video. So this is going to get edited and posted to a video that I'm going to post later. Candy corn is S tier. I love that, actually. Candy corn is in here. I did not put it in the S tier, but candy corn's a classic, man. You can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. So we're going to go up with Twizzlers next. Parent company, the Hershey's Company. Not a lot of people know that. Twizzlers is owned by the Hershey's Company. And the company that first created Twizzlers was not Hershey's, it was Y&S Candies. It is one of the oldest confectionery firms in the United States, and it was founded in 1845. That's right, all the way back in 1845, before the Civil War. That's crazy. The classic strawberry flavor was introduced in the late 1970s, so it took them 100 years to figure out that nice strawberry flavor that we all know, and it's because black licorice was a really popular thing. Really, strawberry as a flavoring became more popular from the 70s on. So it's estimated that the Hershey factory in Lancaster, PA, all the way over there in Pennsylvania, makes over 1 million miles of Twizzlers every year. Think about that. Over 1 million miles of Twizzlers every year. That's how much they're making. Twizzlers, hundreds of millions of dollars of sales every year. The brand has found success with product extensions like Twizzlers filled with twists. That's right. Twizzlers gets filled with stuff like a soft cream. I think they've done like a strawberry cream or a soft cream of some sort or part or something like that. Either way, that's Twizzlers. They're a really good candy. Let's keep it going. Okay, next up is the Tootsie Pop. Everybody knows the Tootsie Pop, right? How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? And they're right there in the B tier as a strong and stable performer. Obviously, Tootsie Pop are owned by the Tootsie Roll Industries company that makes Tootsie Rolls. They were introduced in 1931. The concept of putting a chewy Tootsie Roll inside a hard candy lollipop was revolutionary at the time. The iconic 1970s commercial, however, asking how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, has been the subject of several university studies, with engineering students at Purdue University in Indiana building a licking machine that averaged over 364 licks. So if you want a definite answer, apparently it's approximately 364 licks gets you to the center of a Tootsie Pop. It is a classic and enduring popular candy brand with millions of dollars in sales every year, and they are still one of the top selling lollipops, and obviously with the Tootsie Roll brand, one of the biggest mainstay candies in American history. And as an independent company, one of the few that we've talked about on this list, we're talking about Mars, Nestle, Mondelez, and so many others, Ferrero. Tootsie Roll Industries being its own independent thing, it's pretty impressive, pretty surprising. They rely on the nostalgic appeal and the steady demand for its core products rather than anything flashy. They don't really have any crazy commercials because we all know how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop. And that's it for our B tier. We're moving on down to C tier. Here we go. C tier. And first up in our C tier is Nerds. Come on down, Nerds. Yeah, there you go. And of course, Nerds, they are owned by Ferrera Candy Company, which is just an offshoot of the Ferrero Company, who own Nutella. First launched in 1983 under the Willy Wonka brand, Nerds were an instant hit due to their unique crunchy texture and innovative dual chamber box with two separate flavors. A box of Nerds is made up by tumbling sugar crystals in a large barrel, adding thin layers of flavored syrup that slowly build up into this irregular shapes of the final candy. So if you ever wanted to know how Nerds are made, well, that's how you know. A beloved candy with a cult following that has seen a massive resurgence in popularity and sales recently, it is still a multi-million-dollar maker. It's just not as, let's say, popular or as financially successful as Twix or Crunch Bar or Twizzlers. But that doesn't mean that we don't all love Nerds. I love Nerds. I love all Nerds and Willy Wonka type candy. The brand's biggest recent success was the launch of Nerds Gummy Clusters, which combined the crunchy Nerds with a gummy center. This product has been a viral sensation and a huge financial success. Moving on, our next C tier is Airheads. That's right, Airheads, come on down. We got you right here. Airheads are owned by the Perfetti Van Mel and company and distributed by Ferrera in the US. So essentially, Airheads is owned by Ferrera, which is the same company that owns Ferrero, which is Ferrero makes Nutella, right? And the background of Airheads, they were created in 1985 by the Dutch Italian company Perfetti Van Melle. Airheads are a tangy, taffy-like candy known for their bright colors and intense fruit flavors. Fun fact, the white mystery flavor is made by mixing together the leftover flavors from the end of the production run, meaning its taste can vary slightly from batch to batch. I bet you didn't know that. So white mystery is literally just whatever they have left over. It's a mix of a bunch of different candies. We all know the Airheads commercials. We've all seen the merchandise. Airheads is a leader in the taffy candy segment with strong and consistent sales in the millions every year. The brand has also expanded its lineup to include products like Airheads Extreme, the Sour Belts, to compete with the growing sour candy market, such as Sour Patch Kids, and that's Airheads. Next up, we got the Gummy Bears, Haribo. That's right, Haribo's in that C tier. Put them up there. Put your C's up for Haribo Gummy Bears. They are owned by Haribo, obviously, and they were invented in 1922 in Bonn, Germany, Haribo being a German company by Hans Riegel. He started the company in his kitchen with a sack of sugar and copper kettle. The name Haribo is an acronym for its creator and hometown, Hans Riegel Bonn, Haribo. Fun fact. Popularity and sales, Haribo is a global Goliath in the gummy candy market, with its gold bears being one of the most recognized candies in the world, leading to massive international sales. There's actually a really recent report about how they go out of their way to make sure that their fruit flavors are the most impactful and fruit tasting. Haribo has been expanding its production presence in the US, opening its first ever North American manufacturing plant in Wisconsin in 2023 to meet growing demand. So Haribo actually basically always had to ship their bears in from all their global factory chains, right, in their supply chain market. It's not until 2023 that we finally get Haribo's being made in North America with a new plant in Wisconsin. So, shout out to Haribo. Candy corn. That's right. Candy corn's in the C tier. I know a lot of people would say it's got to be a S tier, billion-dollar candy maker, but come on. We all know candy corn can't be up there with the best. I'm just joking. No, candy corn really is an S tier candy. I'm just a hater, to be honest with you. Candy corn's owned by Brock's. That's right. That's the parent company. And Brock's is owned by Ferrera Candy Company, which Ferrera Candy Company is just a division of Ferrero Candy Company, which we've already spoken to, who owns Nutella, and they're making a big push to get into the candy space. And they were invented in the 1880s by George Renninger of the Wonderly Candy Company. It was the revolutionary candy at the time due to its tricolor design. Another fun fact, National Candy Corn Day is celebrated on October 30th, the day before Halloween. It's one of the most polarizing candies. People either love it or hate it. Despite this, its sales are enormous, but highly seasonal, with an estimated 35 million pounds sold each year, almost entirely in the fall and for the Halloween season. Each year, Brock's releases new flavor variations of candy corn, so you might see turkey dinner or even apple pie to generate buzz and attract curious buyers. That's candy corn. Let's wrap up this tier list by ranking everybody else. I'm going to start with Almond Joy. Almond Joy is a candy bar manufactured by the Hershey Company, consisting of sweetened shredded coconut topped with whole almonds and covered in milk chocolate. The company that makes Almond Joy, Hershey's Company, also makes Mounds, which is also shredded coconut put into a milk chocolate wrapping, but with no almond on top. Almond Joy to me is an everybody else candy. I loved it, but it wasn't the biggest, getter or trade candy that you went for during Halloween. However, in 1988, Hershey's purchased the United States rights to the chocolate business of the company that was making Almond Joys for $300 million. But that also included Mounds, York peppermint patties, as well as Dairy Milk and Caramello. So we have a lot of different vibes that kind of went into that multi-million-dollar deal. Regardless, Almond Joy still deserves to be on the list. We'll put them there with everybody else. Next up, we have animal crackers. That's right, some kids did get animal crackers. We'll put them in the ew category because I think it's just funny. I actually don't mind animal crackers. They have the Reese's version now, which is the Reese's Cup dipped animal crackers, which are super good. Animal crackers appeared in the late 19th century. The demand for these crackers grew to the point that bakers began to produce them domestically in the US, but they originally really popped up in the UK. And Stover's Biscuit Company produced the first batch of animal crackers in York, Pennsylvania in 1871. Other domestic bakeries include the Dozier Well Cracker Company of St. Louis and the Holmes and Coots Company of New York City, where the predecessors of the National Biscuit Company, or known as Nabisco's brands, started. So Nabisco, which eventually made Oreos, started off by making animal crackers. Unfortunate, but they make money. Let's go. Next up is the Goats Candy Company with their caramel creams known as Bull's Eyes. We're going to put them with the everybody else cult favorite, maybe. Honestly, let's just put the animal crackers up there with cult favorites too. It's my tier list. I'm just going to throw it up there because at this point, there's no real ill for me. But, animal crackers might be the closest to that. With Goats' caramel creams, they are a soft, chewy caramel with cream filling in the center. Each candy is packaged in a predominantly clear wrapper and twisted at two ends with red and white on the ends. The Goats Candy Company is based in Baltimore, Maryland. They are a Maryland-based company, and they produced the caramel creams known as the Bullseyes. Super good candies. It was established in 1895, so 130 years ago. They still make a revenue of around $25 to $100 million a year, the company itself. So they're still pulling in some dollars. So we'll put them in the everybody else category. Respect to Goats' Candy Company. Next up is Dots. That's right, we got Dots, and for me, they're in the ill category. I don't feel bad. I know a lot of people love them. Dots is produced by the Tootsie Roll Industries. That's right, Tootsie Rolls makes Dots. And of course, we just spoke to what Tootsie Rolls is. We spoke to the Tootsie Roll Lollipop as well. However, Dots are vegan, gluten-free, nut-free, peanut-free, halal, and kosher. So basically, Dots is the all-in-one candy that, can appeal to everybody everywhere in the world. That's why they were made. Respect to that. But for me, you try to please everybody, you ain't pleasing me. And Dots were invented in 1945, so that's another fun fact. Let's keep it going. So next up is the Hershey's Cookies and Cream. Cookies and Cream Hershey's. Very good stuff. I love them. I'm gonna put them in the C tier cult favorites. Not everybody loves cookies and cream. I know that's a polarizing candy. I actually didn't eat my first Hershey's cookies and cream candy bar until I was like 19, 20 years old. I never actually had them as a kid. That wasn't my favorite candy. I didn't really ever get them for Halloween, ironically enough. So for me, it's kind of a whatever candy. They taste good. It's just, I think I would have enjoyed it more if I would have had it as a kid when I was really into cookies and cream, ice cream flavored things, or just cookies and cream flavored things. However, in 2011, data showed that Hershey's Cookies and Cream generated approximately $80.4 million in US sales through a 52-week period ending in June 2011. So clearly they're making a lot of money. Let's go C tier Hershey's Cookies and Cream. Next up, we have Mallow Cups. And not a lot of people know who Mallow Cups is or who they are. We're going to put them in the everybody else category. They are an American milk chocolate cup shaped candy, similar to a Reese's cup that contains a whipped marshmallow center. They were invented in 1936 by the candy company Boyer, owned and created by brothers Bill and Bob Boyer, who began production of candy such as fudge and nut clusters in 1936 during the Great Depression. They eventually moved on to different candy types that led them to what we know as the Mallow Cup. And of course, Boyer is based out of Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania loves their candies. Next up, we have Oreos, which is technically not a candy. It is actually a sandwich cookie or just a cookie. But, for me, I think that they count as a Halloween candy. You always got the two pack little sleeve of Oreos in your, Halloween trick or treat bag. So we're going to put Oreos obviously up there in the S tier $1 billion category because it's Oreos. They were made by Nabisco, but now owned by Mondelez International. However, if you ever heard of hydroxys or hydroxys, essentially that's the original name of Oreos. They were known as Hydrox chocolate cream centered cookies that were actually introduced before the Nabisco variety came about in 1908. But they took over the Hydrox popularity because they have a better name, and now everybody knows who Oreos is, and no one knows who Hydrox is, even though Oreos came after. Regardless, Oreo has been the highest selling cookie brand in the world since 2014. So, respect to Oreos. Tootsie Rolls. Next up is Tootsie Rolls. And we got to put them in the $1 billion category because their company, Tootsie Roll Industries, made a revenue of over $769 million in 2023. So you think about all these years of Tootsie Rolls, just like candy corn, they're probably ranking in a bunch of money, and we have the evidence for it. Tootsie Roll Industries is a Chicago-based company. They market all over the world, 75 countries, including Canada and Mexico, outside of just the United States. They were started in 1896 by Leo Hirschfeld, an Austrian Jewish immigrant to the United States who began work at a small candy shop located in New York City before branching out and doing his own thing. So, shout out to Tootsie Rolls. Everyone knows what a Tootsie Roll is. They're good stuff. Next up is Werther's. That's right, Werther's. We're going to put them in the ew category because let's be honest. Who was ever happy to eat a Werther's? I know everyone's going to say it's grandma candy, but the truth is that just caramel chew on its own just doesn't sound that appetizing. It can be a little bit too sweet. I like butterscotch, but the combination of caramel and butterscotch is just not for me. But it's a super popular candy still to this day. They were actually introduced in 1969, even though they feel like they're a million years old. They're actually a German originating candy based out of the town of Werther in Westphalia, Germany. So that's where they get the name. Werther's is an actual place in Germany, a town that was founded in 1903. In 1969, the sweet began marketing under the brand name Werther's Echt. The brand name Werther's Original was adopted in the 1990s for the international market. They are now manufactured in the nearby town of Halle, Germany. So That's Werther's. And the last candy that we have on our tier list is Whoppers. That's right, Whoppers. And for me, one of my all-time favorites. I know a lot of people could care less about Whoppers. A lot of people would think that's in the ill category. We're going to put Whoppers in the cult favorites because if you like malt candies and malt-based things, that was a huge candy category, then you're going to love Whoppers. But if you don't like malt tasting things or malt candies, then you're going to hate Whoppers. So, yeah, we're going to put them in the cult favorites. Whoppers is owned and manufactured by the Hershey's Company ever since 1996. That's when Hershey's bought them. However, they were introduced in 1949, 75 years ago. They were owned by the Leaf brand. That's who actually was the originator of the Whoppers candy until they were sold to Hershey's. Leaf Brands was based out of the U.S. in Newport Beach, California. That's right. They were making candy out of California, and one of them was Whoppers. And that's pretty much our tier list. So thank you so much again. Happy Halloween, or whenever you're watching this. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Perspective Reports, your world strategize, and we'll see you in the next one. Later. My reward for finally finishing this tier list are these animal crackers. So, not bad.